Oh,
Hooray, hooray. All right. We have a goal today. And that goal is to demonstrate how to work with our new metaphorical card deck to resolve some of the hard issues, complex issues, not so complex issues. Also, how to play with yourself, your friends, and your family, and even present it to the children. We've created something magical, and every time we would like to demonstrate one card, one thing. So I am in the magical forest. This is my ammonite, and Alexandra is in the magical forest of her making. We both are artists, so that ammonite picture is made for one of our magical journeys. She's also presenting her work. You can find our work on insightfulcolor.com. But today, with our goal, we are going to use our metaphorical cards to understand what our audience is looking for. What are the major issues that our audience is looking for? You're absolutely welcome to write your questions, your issues in the comments, and we will respond to them during the next broadcast. You can also directly write to us on our website, insightfulcolor.com, and we will pay attention to your special issue. But today I'm going to pull a card, just a random card, to understand where some of you might feel stuck or insufficient. And magically, we've gotten tarantula that represents the fear of isolation. This is the fear that we all experienced during latest event in the world where we did not have an access to each other. And during this time, even if we were not isolated, we still felt like the world closed its doors on us. What it created within the body is this special effect called hammer effect that creates an inflammation point within the body that looks like a target. If you've been to Target store, you probably know what I'm talking about. So it's exactly how it looks. Scientific knowledge, I didn't make it up. And this inflammation would be based on what exactly the states you experienced during the isolation. Whether it was affecting your psyche, as if you lost your freedom and you lost your identification because you're no longer involved with the people, or it affected your physical body, the fear of death, the fear of being so sick that nobody will save you. So depending on what it is, if it's at the level of the body, you probably got overweight. I've gained about 20 pounds during isolation, even though I had all my family around me and I continue working with the clients. So it's completely unconscious. And I lost those 26 pounds by now. But at that time, my body believed that I'm in danger, even though my mind was pretty clear that I'm not. But for some of my clients, they've experienced the psychological diminishing of who they are. They were no longer visible to the world. They could not do the physical work that they usually done, and they couldn't go online with it because not every business, not every profession could go online. So what happens there? They didn't gain weight. They actually start diminishing by developing some of the cankers on the body, here, there, but also inside the body. So what's interesting, that body responds differently to different ideas about the fear, but it does respond to the idea. Just if I will ask you to think about lemon and you will feel saliva in your mouth, or if I tell you about the animal you don't really like, you will feel like this. The same way body reacts, always reacts to it. And the reaction starts in your mind, the thought comes out, And the body needs to respond to this because our ancient body protects us. So it responds with the chemical, a particular chemical we call hormones, and that chemical runs through your body, delivering the message you're in danger. The body reacts to it in a certain way, creating a state, whether you run or you fight or you hide or whatever else you need to do. And that state is registering in our mind as an emotion. And as emotion, energy in motion. We either get energy or our energy degenerates and we become absolutely energy deficient. And here comes the tarantula. So as you're looking at it, please imagine that animal. How do you feel? If something like that crawls into your room right this moment, and I please ask you to feel it in your body. You can even close your eyes and imagine it vividly. And if you have arachnophobia, which some people do, don't close your eyes and don't imagine. Just look at the picture and say, this is just a picture, nothing scary really. But this tarantula looks somewhat lost for me, and how it looks for you is dependable on you. So Alexandra, how does it look to you?
Well, as luck would have it, I was at the state fair 2 days ago, and they had a reptile room, and they had tarantulas in there. But in this giant, big rooms, these were small terrariums, and they were small creatures, and there were lots of people. And like, you know what? It's in the terrarium. It's not scary at all.
You were not in isolation, weren't you?
No, there
And
are
that
lots.
makes the whole difference. When you have a network, when you have a support, it's not as scary. But we are not always in network. Sometimes we get into the net. I'm not sure if tarantula make a net, but if they do, you don't want to be in that net. You want to be in a safety net provided by your surroundings. And very often in extreme situations, you're alone and you need to make decisions alone, and you need to make decisions dictated by the state. And sometimes those decisions based on emotions, based on a not energy sufficient state, brings you into the action that is absolutely against your survival or against your better judgment. So these cards are about looking at this. How can I find resource, even if I'm scared of those animals? How can I find resource in my challenge? How can I find resource and understand what it means for me? So what's interesting, I had a client yesterday, the client that chose that card, the card of tarantula. And the first thing I asked, what do you see? And he said, it's all prickly. There is a lot of needles. I would never perceive that as needles, but some people do. So what it is for you? Do you feel it's prickly? Do you feel it comes toward you, or it's just lost? Also pay attention to the eyes of this creature. What those eyes tell you? How united that vision is? What does it see? What it misses? And most importantly, how does it relate to you? If you be tarantula on that picture, what does it mean for you? And if it's not you, who in your life is like that? Who gives you the sense of that tarantula in your life? This is a recording, so we're not going to do a long pauses, but you can pause the recording and maybe write it down or just think about it to bring this picture, to make it more relevant, to bring it closer to you. And as you do, also pay attention to the background. What is the background of this picture? We will place the picture, the link to the picture in our description, because that would be useful for you to look closer at the camera, at the picture. But right now, just be with that as if it's pretty real. And if you are part of that picture, who would you be? Would you be the background? Would you be the whole tarantula? Maybe you are an eye on tarantula. Who are you? And most importantly, what do you feel about it? If you are that, What are you experiencing in that state? And how is it relating in your life, in your situations right now? Who are the people that you relate as if you are tarantula, or who relate to you like that? There are many, many questions, and in our booklet and in a set of cards, we actually have the questions, because not everybody knows how to ask questions.
Yeah, continue exploring, see what opens up.
So as you explore it, on the other side of this is a text. So the tarantula represents the fear of isolation, because sometimes we have to sacrifice our dreams to be included, to be called in, to be supported, to be loved, to feel safe, or to experience life with somebody else. And we sacrifice. Sometimes we sacrifice who we are in order to be loved and connected and included. But as we sacrifice, we often experience not the feeling that we were looking for, love and connection, but the feeling of pressure, the feeling of doing things for others that you cannot do for yourself. And sacrifice usually comes from acting, from connecting, from within the state of lack, not from within the state of abundance of energy and abundance of other resources like time, for example. So where in your life are you connecting from the feeling of neediness, the feeling that you need to do something in order to get something? If then, so right now or later on, if you're watching the video, would you write down where in your life do you have those statements? When I have this, then I have this. If somebody does this, maybe I do this. And that will reveal deeply hidden fear of taking responsibility for whatever needs to be satisfied for you. Very often, we do for others something that you want to do for yourself, which is not a big deal. We are social beings. But when you do it from the state of lack, hoping that when you do this, somebody will understand magically that you actually meant that for you as well and do it for you, you create expectations that very often bring you to disappointment. So this card is reminding you that when you isolate yourself from somebody, most likely you are overloaded. You just feel too much. When you try to cover, satisfy, support other people without giving what you need to be supported. Did you experience anything like that? When you run around trying to save everybody, help everybody, and be needed by everybody, and then feeling good about being needed?
Yeah, that's a challenging situation because it never plays out the way we wish. Like anytime we do something in order to and have expectations, it always turns sour. Yeah, not a good idea. And I guess most of us learned the hard way by trying it.
Right. And I had this experience because I always want to help everybody, and not because they ask, but because I can, and not because they didn't do it, because they didn't do it yet. I'm very fast in my energy. I have gazillions of ideas, and as soon as this idea comes, I'm here for you. And very often the person is not ready for it, and I feel like I need to help and support, and sometimes support feels like a push. So if you experience that, especially with your children, for example, or your relatives, or your husbands, or your wives, chances are people are not ready, or you have an idea for them. But what's interesting, we are very different, right? Maybe in the same family, you have different animals, even if they live in the same environment. But they use this environment differently. And in order to survive, they need to do things that right for them. And if you don't know who you are still, some people don't know because they're too young, some people don't know because they lost it, some people never knew. We all have the package of energy and information that is absolutely right for us. And when we understand who we are within that package of energy and information that represented in your birth date, it's much easier for you to relate from the strong position of who you are instead of trying to fit with the strong positions of what other people are. And when you try to fit with others without understanding who you are, very often you are lost and you feel disappointed, which means you miss your appointment with yourself and others. So if it's interesting for you, write your questions, write your birth date if you're interested. You don't have to put your whole date, even just the day is enough for me to help you understand what's going on in your life and why, and give you a recommendation how you can use it. And as your homework, as your idea of entering the magical field of animals, I invite you to look into the card. We will put the description, the link in the description, and understand what is the conflict that you're experiencing, how you want to feel, that's the conflict, and how you feel right now. The point A, where you're lost about what to do and what not to do and why you feel isolated, and the need and want and desire and the dream to come together with people, to find people, like-minded people to do things that you wish to do, or maybe even unite with your family, because some people lose the family connection like that. And then embodying the understanding that the only thing you need to sacrifice in your life is your ego, is your story that keeps you isolated, the standards, the morals that keep you on a high chair, but very far away from everybody else. What do you think about this idea? You can do it, you don't have to do it, but if you do, let us know how it worked for you. And next time we'll share how you can play with these cards with your children, because children love animals. And you can learn a lot about your child, even if it's a 40-year-old child. In a family dinner game, you can learn a lot about things they feel isolated about in relationship with you or in relationship with their world.
And we certainly learn through interacting with others and interacting with our cards, or they're also available in a book form.
Great. So till we see you again.
Until the next time, bye bye.
Bye bye.